Hey, my friends, welcome back to the Uncommodified Podcast. I'm Tim Windsor, and this episode is going to seem a little strange, a little weird at first, but stay with me. This episode's all about fungi, mushrooms, the rather mystical and magical world of fungi. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to be talking about mushrooms, the mold most often overlooked and underappreciated, a spore-producing system thriving beneath our sandals, a system that can teach us a hell of a lot about how we should live, work, and communicate. Now, fungi aren't just some weird growth that happens in the damp corners of your basement or the stuff that shows up on your pizza. They're part of a vast, powerful network that scientists have started calling the Wood Wide Web. Sounds a little strange, right? But just stick with me. What is interesting is that this fungal network can stretch actually for thousands of miles underground, communicating faster than many human networks. It's a little mind-blowing when you think about it. Fungi form massive underground networks called mycelium. Imagine veins threaded through the ground connecting trees and plants and just about everything else in the ecosystem. Mycelium can stretch over 1,000 acres. Yes, in one network can be larger than the entire city of Los Angeles. And these aren't just passive systems. These fungal networks are constantly communicating, making decisions, and directing resources where they are most needed. Now, here's a wild statistic to put all this into perspective. Scientists have found that in a single cubic meter of soil, it can contain up to 20.5 kilometers. For my American friends, that's up to 8 miles in just a cubic inch of fungal mycelium. A network over 20 kilometers in length, just sitting there quietly working its magic beneath our feet. But don't mistake that silence for simplicity. These networks are like fiber optic cables and conduits under the forest, exchanging water, nutrients, and even warning signals. In fact, scientists have proven that trees connected to these mycelial networks are up to 100 times more likely to survive disease than those that aren't. Think about that for a second. That's a 100-fold increase in survival because they're connected to a hidden underground communication and resource sharing network. It's like fungi are the unnoticed and unsung heroes of the ecosystem. They're the ultimate collaborators and communicators, working behind and beneath the scenes, strengthening the community. But it's not all altruistic. These systems thrive on a brutal form of reciprocity. You give, you get. You stop giving, you are cut off. This underground network, this underground economy is ruthless. Now, let's be real for a second. In our personal and professional lives, we're not that different. Humans live and die by their networks. But how many of us are actually working that network? How many of us are investing in relationships, sharing resources, and communicating clearly versus just taking and hoping someone else does the work for us? Here's where the fungi's wisdom can school us. In business, we're constantly told that communication is key. But what if that communication was as strategic as the fungi's? Mycelium do not waste energy on unnecessary chatter. They don't have small talk. It gets straight to the point. The goal is survival. The goal is efficiency and growth. If we took a leaf, or rather a spore, from the fungi's book, maybe we'd stop wasting time on half-hearted connections and we'd focus on building real, mutually beneficial relationships in our network. We also can't overlook the power of collaboration. Mycelium connects trees of different species, allowing them to share resources. Think about that for a minute. Trees competing for light and space still share nutrients through this underground network because it strengthens the whole system. If you're the one hoarding all the resources on your team or in your family or in your community, you might feel strong and safe, but you're actually weakening the entire network. Eventually, that scarcity mindset and the desire to only resource yourself will come back to bite you in the ass. But here's where things get even more provocative. Just like fungi, not all networks are nurturing and cooperative. Some are actually competitive. Some of them are parasitic. They'll connect to a tree, drain its resources, and eventually kill it. These fungal bastards and bullies teach us something as well. Some connections, no matter how long-standing, are toxic. They're draining you, dragging you down, and ultimately they'll hollow you out if you don't cut them off. Let's face it, whether it's a toxic workplace, a manipulative relationship, or a friendship that's all take and no give, sometimes severing the connection is the healthiest choice. Mycelium do not hesitate. When a tree stops giving, the fungi disconnect. They cut the cord. And maybe we should be doing the same in our lives with some of our relationships. Maybe we should have less guilt, more decisiveness in these relationships. If it's not feeding you or your network, maybe it's got to go. And here's where we can bring it full circle. Mycelial networks rely on trust but also accountability. Each tree in the network must contribute something. Trust but verify. The fungi ensure that each part of the network holds up to its end of the bargain. If not, they are left behind. In our personal and professional lives, think about how often we trust without accountability. We assume everyone's pulling their weight. But when's the last time you checked the balance sheet of your relationships? Are you overextending in your giving, or are you not contributing enough to the network that's keeping you alive and thriving? Fungi don't have time for freeloaders, and neither should you. So for fungi and for this guy, and maybe even for you, it's about more than just surviving. It's about thriving in a network, leveraging trust, communication, and reciprocity. It's about knowing when to invest and when to disconnect. It's a delicate balance between collaboration and competition. And most importantly, it's about doing the work behind the scenes that keeps the whole system, your personal and professional ecosystem, alive. If you're still struggling to find balance in your relationships, or if you're just looking for ways to be more efficient in your communication, take a lesson from fungi. Strengthen your network, share your resources, but know when it's time to cut the carcinogenic connections. Because at the end of the day, just like in any forest, we all flourish or we all fail together. Until next time, be a mushroom, be a fungi or fungal, but don't let anyone keep you in the dark and cover you with their shit. Cheers. Have a great day.